If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming content that reminds us all of the unexpected magic that can happen during the holidays. Mark Donovan stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror, barely recognizing the man looking back at him. At 42, the lines around his eyes had deepened, and flecks of gray peppered his dark brown hair. He ran a nervous hand through it, wondering for the 100th time why he had agreed to this ridiculous plan. "Dad! Hurry up! You're going to be late." Lily's voice echoed through their modest two-bedroom apartment. "Coming," he called back, adjusting his tie one last time. When he emerged from the bathroom, his 16-year-old daughter beamed at him. Lily had her mother's smile, wide and genuine, with a hint of mischief that always made his heart ache with both joy and sorrow. "You look handsome," she said, reaching up to straighten his collar. "Like a real grown-up." "As opposed to what?" "A fake grown-up," he teased, but his stomach churned with anxiety. "As opposed to the dad who wears the same 3 flannel shirts and refuses to leave the house except for work and grocery shopping." She gave him a pointed look. "It's been 5 years, Dad. 5 years since cancer had taken Sarah. 5 years of raising Lily alone. 5 years of throwing himself into his work as an architect and his role as a father, leaving no room for anything, or anyone, else. This is ridiculous," he muttered. "I don't need a blind date. Especially not at Christmas." "It's just dinner," Lily insisted. 2 hours of your life. Consider it my Christmas present. I already bought you those concert tickets you wanted. This is different." Her expression softened. "I want you to be happy, Dad. Not just okay." Mark sighed, unable to argue with the concern in his daughter's eyes. "Fine. But when this goes horribly wrong, I reserve the right to say, 'I told you so,' for at least a month. Deal?" Lily grinned, handing him his coat. "The reservation is at 7. Bella Luna on Main Street. How do I even recognize this mystery woman? Her name is Claire. She'll be wearing a red scarf. And Dad?" Lily's voice turned serious. "Just be yourself. That's more than enough." As Mark drove downtown, snow began to fall, delicate flakes that transformed the city into a scene from a Christmas card. Strings of lights twinkled along storefronts, and holiday music drifted from open doors. Despite his reluctance, he couldn't deny the beauty of the season. Bella Luna was warm and inviting, with soft lighting and the rich aroma of Italian cuisine. Mark gave his name to the hostess, who smiled knowingly. "Your date is already here," she said, leading him to a corner table. And there she was, a woman with shoulder-length auburn hair, wearing a simple black dress with a red scarf draped around her neck. She looked up as he approached, and Mark felt an unexpected jolt. Her eyes were kind, with laugh lines at the corners that suggested a life well lived. "You must be Mark," she said, standing to greet him. "I'm Claire." "Nice to meet you," he replied, suddenly aware of how rusty his social skills had become. "I should probably confess that I was tricked into being here by my teenage daughter." To his relief, Claire laughed. "And I was coerced by my well-meaning sister. Shall we call ourselves reluctant participants?" Mark felt some of his tension ease as he sat down. "Reluctant participants it is." The waiter appeared with menus, and Mark was grateful for the momentary distraction. When he looked up again, Claire was studying him with curious eyes. "So," she said, "tell me about this daughter of yours who's playing matchmaker." "Lily," he said, unable to keep the pride from his voice. "She's 16, brilliant, stubborn, and convinced that I'm wasting away in solitude." "Is she right?" The directness of the question caught him off guard. "Maybe. Probably. I don't know." He paused. "What about you? Any children?" A shadow crossed Claire's face. "No. That wasn't in the cards for me." Something in her tone made Mark sense there was more to the story, but he didn't press. Instead, he asked, "What do you do?" "I'm a pediatric nurse," she replied, her expression brightening. "I work at Children's Memorial." "That must be challenging." "It is, but it's also incredibly rewarding." She took a sip of water. "And you?" "Architect." "Nothing as noble as saving children's lives." "Don't sell yourself short. You create spaces where people live, work, and build their futures. That matters." Their conversation flowed more easily than Mark had anticipated. Claire was intelligent and thoughtful, with a dry wit that made him laugh more than he had in years. By the time their entrees arrived, he found himself genuinely enjoying her company. "So," Claire said, twirling pasta around her fork, "how long has it been?" Mark didn't pretend to misunderstand. 5 years. Lily was 11 when Sarah died. "I'm sorry." "Thank you." He hesitated, then added, "It was cancer. Aggressive. By the time they caught it." He trailed off, the familiar ache returning. Claire nodded, her eyes reflecting understanding rather than pity. "My husband was a firefighter. Line of duty, 8 years ago." Mark felt a connection form between them, the unspoken bond of those who had loved and lost. "Does it get easier?" he asked, voicing the question he'd carried for years. "Not easier," she said thoughtfully. "Different. The grief changes shape. It becomes something you carry rather than something that carries you." They fell into silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the silence of two people recognizing themselves in each other. As they shared tiramisu for dessert, Claire asked, "What are your Christmas plans?" "The usual. Tree, presents, too many cookies. Lily insists on maintaining all the traditions her mother started." He smiled faintly. "What about you?" "I'm working Christmas Eve, the night shift. Then my sister's family on Christmas Day." "That's generous of you, working the holiday." Claire shrugged. "Many of my colleagues have young children. I don't mind taking the shift." When the check came, they both reached for it. "Please," Mark said. "Let me." "How about we split it?" Claire suggested. "That way neither of us feels obligated for a second date." Mark found himself saying, "And if I want a second date?" Claire's smile was warm. "Then you can pay next time." Outside, the snow had accumulated, transforming the street into a winter wonderland. Christmas lights reflected off the white ground, casting colorful shadows. "I had a nice time," Mark said, suddenly awkward again. "Much better than I expected." "High praise indeed," Claire teased. "That came out wrong." He laughed. "What I meant was—" "I know what you meant," she assured him. "And I had a nice time too." They stood there in the gently falling snow, two middle-aged people at the end of a surprisingly pleasant blind date, unsure of the protocol. "Would you like to go for a walk?" Mark found himself asking. "There's a Christmas market a few blocks from here." Claire hesitated, then nodded. "I'd like that." They strolled through the market, admiring handcrafted ornaments and warming their hands on cups of mulled cider. Mark couldn't remember the last time he'd felt so present, so aware of the moment rather than lost in memories or worries. "Tell me about Sarah," Claire said as they paused by a display of glass snowflakes. The request surprised him. Most people avoided mentioning Sarah, as if speaking her name might shatter him. "She was vibrant," he said slowly. "The kind of person who filled a room. She taught high school English and made her students fall in love with Shakespeare. She could quote sonnets from memory and use them in everyday conversation just to make me laugh." He smiled at the memory. "She loved Christmas, went all out with decorations and traditions. After she died, I tried to keep it all going for Lily's sake, but it's never been the same." Claire listened attentively, her expression open. She sounds wonderful. She was. What about your husband? Michael was brave. Not just in his job, but in how he lived. He faced everything head-on, fears, challenges, joy. He taught me to be braver than I thought I could be. She touched a glass ornament, setting it spinning. He would have loved this market. He was like a kid at Christmas. They continued walking, sharing stories of their lost loves without the weight of sadness that usually accompanied such memories. It felt like an introduction, not just to each other, but to the people who had shaped them. As they circled back toward the restaurant where their cars were parked, Claire said, "Thank you for tonight, Mark. For dinner and the walk and, for talking about Sarah. I know that's not easy." "Actually, it was easier than I expected," he admitted. "You're easy to talk to." They reached her car first. Claire turned to face him, snowflakes catching in her hair. "I'd like to see you again," Mark said, surprising himself with his directness. Claire smiled. "I'd like that too." They exchanged phone numbers, and then, in a moment of impulse, Mark leaned forward and kissed her cheek. It was a gentle gesture, brief and chaste, but it sent a current through him, a reminder that he was still alive, still capable of connection. "Good night, Claire." "Good night, Mark." As he drove home, Mark found himself smiling. The evening had been unexpected in every way. He'd gone reluctantly, expecting awkwardness and eager for it to end. Instead, he'd met someone who understood loss without being defined by it, who made him laugh and think and feel. When he arrived home, Lily was waiting up, pretending to watch TV but clearly anxious for his return. "Well?" she demanded as soon as he walked through the door. "How was it?" "It was." He searched for the right word. "Nice." Lily rolled her eyes. "Nice? That's all I get after orchestrating this whole thing?" Mark hung up his coat, trying to hide his smile. "It was better than nice. She's interesting. Easy to talk to. Did you like her?" "Yes," he admitted. "I did." Lily's face lit up. "Are you going to see her again?" "We exchanged numbers." "We'll see." "Dad." Lily bounced on the couch. "This is huge. Your first date in 5 years, and it wasn't a disaster." "Don't sound so surprised," he said dryly. "I want details. What does she do? What did you talk about? Did you kiss her?" "She's a pediatric nurse. We talked about lots of things. And no, I didn't kiss her. Well, just on the cheek, which is none of your business, by the way." Lily squealed. "You kissed her cheek? Oh my God, Dad, you're practically engaged." "Very funny." He sat beside her on the couch. "How did you even find her?" Lily suddenly became very interested in a loose thread on her sweater. Well, you know Mrs. Peterson from my school? Your English teacher?" "Yeah. She has a sister who works at Children's Memorial. She mentioned her once when we were talking about, career options." Mark narrowed his eyes. "You've been planning this for a while, haven't you?" Lily shrugged, not meeting his gaze. "Maybe. Mrs. Peterson said her sister is really nice and that she lost her husband too, so she'd understand, you know." Mark was touched by his daughter's thoughtfulness, even as he shook his head at her scheming. "You're something else, you know that? I just want you to be happy, Dad." He pulled her into a hug. "I know, sweetheart. And I am happy, I have you. But you could be happier," she insisted. "You could have more." Later that night, as Mark lay in bed, he found himself thinking about Claire, her laugh, the way she listened intently, how comfortable it felt to talk about Sarah with her. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to consider the possibility of letting someone new into his life. The next morning, he stared at Claire's number in his phone, debating whether it was too soon to call. Before he could decide, a text came through. **I had a wonderful time last night. Would you like to get coffee sometime this week? Mark smiled and typed back, *I'd love to. How about tomorrow afternoon? Their coffee date turned into dinner later that week, which led to a movie the following weekend. Each time they met, Mark felt more drawn to Claire, to her compassion, her resilience, her quiet strength. They talked about everything, their work, their losses, their hopes. He told her about his favorite buildings in the city, she shared stories about the children she helped heal. 2 weeks after their first date, Mark invited Claire to dinner at his apartment. It was a significant step, bringing her into the space he shared with Lily, the home he had built after Sarah's death. *Are you nervous?* Lily asked as she helped him prepare the meal. Terrified, he admitted, chopping vegetables with more force than necessary. *Don't be. She'll love your lasagna. And she already likes you, which is miraculous considering your dad jokes.' *My jokes are hilarious,' he protested. *Keep telling yourself that.' Lily patted his arm. *I'm going to make myself scarce tonight. Give you two some privacy. You don't have to leave. I want you to get to know Claire.' *I will, but not tonight. Tonight is for you too.' She gave him a knowing look. *Just don't do anything I wouldn't do.' *That's my line,' he said, flicking a dish towel at her. When Claire arrived, bearing a bottle of wine and a small potted poinsettia, Mark felt a flutter of nervousness. This was his space, filled with memories of Sarah, her books still on the shelves, her favorite painting hanging in the hallway. *Your home is lovely,' Claire said as he gave her a tour. She paused by a family photo, Mark, Sarah, and a younger Lily at the beach. *Is this Sarah?' *Yes,' he said, watching her carefully. *That was the summer before she got sick.' Claire studied the photo. She had a beautiful smile. *Lily looks just like her.' *She does,' Mark agreed, waiting for the familiar pang of grief. It came, but softer than before, tempered by the presence of the woman beside him. Dinner was relaxed and enjoyable. Claire complimented his cooking and shared stories about her day at the hospital. As they talked, Mark realized how much he had missed this simple conversation over a shared meal, the comfort of adult company. After dinner, they moved to the living room with glasses of wine. The Christmas tree in the corner cast a warm glow, its lights reflecting in the window against the night sky. Lily did most of the decorating, Mark explained. She's the Christmas enthusiast in the family. It's beautiful, Claire said, admiring the ornaments. Each one looks like it has a story. They do. Sarah started a tradition of buying a new ornament each year that represented something significant that had happened. After she died, Lily insisted we continue. Claire moved closer to the tree. Which one is this year's? Mark pointed to a small silver compass hanging near the top. That one. Lily said it's because we're finding our way forward. Claire turned to him, her eyes soft in the dim light. That's lovely. She's a lovely girl. Much wiser than I was at her age. He hesitated, then added, she likes you, you know. She's been not so subtly hinting that I shouldn't mess this up. And what do you think? Claire asked, her voice quiet. Mark set down his wine glass and moved closer to her. I think I'm terrified of messing this up. I haven't felt this way in a long time, interested in someone, excited to see them, thinking about them when we're apart. I feel the same way, Claire admitted. It's scary, isn't it? Opening yourself up again after thinking that part of your life was over. Terrifying, he agreed. But also, hopeful. This time when he leaned in, he kissed her properly, a gentle, questioning kiss that deepened when she responded. It felt both familiar and entirely new, comforting and exhilarating at once. When they pulled apart, Claire's eyes were bright with